What up, Street Beast fam, YouTube fans, and everybody else who stumbled across this channel? I'm your host, Shinigami, aka Sensei Danny, and welcome back to a bonus episode of Black Belt Thoughts. This isn't my main video for next week, or this weekend, I should say. I didn't want to wait till next Sunday to do this because that would be a little too far out. I think everybody would be talking about different stuff. But I just want to share my thoughts on the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones fight. First thing I'm going to say for sure is I'm glad I didn't spend $50 on that. That whole thing was not worth $50 at all. First couple of fights were not very exciting. Now, first and foremost, I'm not a boxing fan. I'm not a fan of watching it. I'm not a fan of doing it straight up. Really don't like training it, but I do it because I need it for MMA, and I know what people are going to say that it doesn't look like I do because of that last fight. But if you watch, if you had watched a couple of my older fights before I hid them, so people couldn't use them to strategize against me for Street Beast fights, you'd see that I actually do have decent boxing for MMA purposes. I've trained a lot of boxing the last 3 to 5 years, off and on. 3 years, like pretty much straight, leading into the COVID thing, which resulted in that gym closing, so they could move and they haven't reopened. Usually I just find it boring because it's too limited. I like to see, at least kicks. So kickboxing, Muay Thai, Lethwei, MMA, Ganryujima, Kudo. I love all that stuff because it's more fun to watch. But Mike Tyson's a legend, and I had to see what was going to happen when he came out of retirement at age 54, even though it was an exhibition. I don't think he got the memo that knockouts were allowed at the last minute, or if he did, he forgot. He definitely should have, because he had some opportunities to put Jones away, and Roy Jones, he got lucky that Mike Tyson didn't. I think Mike Tyson maybe was a little worried about killing the guy after he saw him gassed out after a couple of rounds, but I think that one of the reasons it was disappointing just in general was because the ref kept letting them kept letting Roy Jones just hug up on Tyson and he's just letting it go for like 30-40 seconds before breaking it up when the rounds are only 2 minutes long. That just stalls the action the whole fight. I mean, that's a strategy for dealing with Tyson, because obviously he will brick you if you're at punching range instead of clenched up to where you can't really put the power on it. But even then, man, he was nailing with them body shots really hard from that clinch. So I don't know, man, but Mike Tyson definitely should have won that fight. I think the judges were either blind or just being charitable, because it was a charity event and it was an exhibition match and both guys are over the hill and got in there, and I think it was kind of like a respect thing maybe to both fighters. But there's no way that Mike Tyson didn't outscore him by quite a bit and definitely landed more power shots. So it was definitely interesting seeing Mike Tyson return. Dude was basically a human highlight reel for boxing for most of his career in the 80s and 90s. Definitely probably still has the potential for that. Dude's a scary guy too. If you notice when they were doing the post-fight interview, every time that he tried to interrupt, to interject and give his two pieces, just talk off the top of his head, while the guy was trying to get Roy Jones's thoughts and ask himself about like a future fight. He just handed that mic over, or aimed it over back at Mike Tyson. And I would too. Mike Tyson's a scary dude. And that's I think half the reason he's scary is because that voice does not match that face and that ferocity and just killer instinct that he has when he starts throwing punches. And I ain't gonna lie, I never heard him talk till I was an adult. Didn't really get to watch combat sports growing up. I had a pretty censored childhood. So yeah, it's crazy to hear that voice come out of that guy, and then just realize that laughing at him for it would probably just make him angrier, and you definitely would die. So I think if they rematch or whatever, they need to do longer rounds. They need to, allow knockouts. They need to get a rep that's going to break up the clinch faster because that was ridiculous. Maybe, get the Wolverine from Street Beefs. He's usually pretty good at breaking them clinches up quick. That's the kind of reffing you need in a boxing match like that. The other fights were kind of boring. I wasn't too happy with having to sit through a rap concert for an hour before and commentary for an hour before the fight, the main event fight, or really just the interluded rap concert in general. I'm more of a goth kid, metalhead, rocker type dude. So I don't really care for that kind of music. It was kind of boring to me. I can see why they did it. I know a lot of people listen to it. Aside from Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa, I didn't know who any of those guys were. Shout out to Snoop Dogg too, though, for sharing that Street Beast fight with detail. That clip that was on Sports Center. That helped me blow up kind of big. So can't say too much about Snoop Dogg rapping, but the that whole thing was ridiculous. I thought they were going to go to the main card just directly after the Jake Paul fight. So I popped some popcorn. And, I had skipped lunch because I'm trying to lower my calorie intake because I'm still trying to lose weight. And, yeah, I ended up eating almost the whole bag before the fight even started because I was just starving, pretty much. And, I ate it slow too. I never eat that slow. I was trying to save it for the fight. So maybe next time the Legends Only League does something like this, they can cut that nonsense out and go straight to the main event. Maybe not so much malarkey between bouts. It definitely wasn't worth $50 for that. Jake Paul fighting Nate Robinson. Probably the only other thing on the card worth mentioning. The other two fights, like I said, I really didn't. I was doing other stuff. I couldn't even watch those. They just weren't exciting for me at all. And honestly, there was a Jake Paul fight either. I don't like the guy. I don't like his brother. I don't like the nonsense they get up to, especially his brother. But he's not much better. And I knew right away, though, that Nate Robinson had done goofed taking that fight. It's very clear that Jake Paul has put in the work to get to a certain level of proficiency at boxing. But it's the science of punches and worrying about punches. And obviously Nate was more worried about trying to tackle him like football or something. It was weird. I don't know if those were boxing shoes that he had custom made by Nike to look like basketball shoes, but or those were just actual Air Force Ones or something. But that was, I don't know what he was thinking if he wasn't wearing boxing shoes in that ring. I actually went to the bathroom and came back, and it was pretty much over. But I knew it was going to be over in the third round anyway after he knocked him down twice in the second. Or the first, whatever round it made it to. I walked out sometime after the first round because I knew that was going to be over pretty quick the next round, and I just didn't really care. I think that, respect to Nate Robinson for doing it, but I don't think he should have done it. I think it was a bad idea. I think guys that do like the NFL kind of stuff, he's a world-class athlete, but it's a different game coming to combat sports, especially something as limited as boxing. I think someone who's played football and is used to tackling people should probably just pick up MMA and go into that if they're going to do combat sports, simply because it builds off of something they have a base in doing a lot of. But yeah, he ended up, getting knocked out by Jake Paul, and he's getting roasted all over the internet for it. I've seen memes of all sorts today. A lot of Stand By Me references. You want to see a dead body, things like that. I hope he's okay. I hope he's not concussed. I hope he's not going to have permanent brain damage from getting knocked around like that. That being said, I would actually like to see Jake Paul fight somebody who's actually a more experienced boxer than the guys he's been fighting. He's fought like 3 cans in a row. Um, and he wants to start calling out MMA fighters like Dylan Dennis and you know Conor McGregor, and I think that's dumb. I think McGregor will do it. Easy payday for him. And that's probably why he'll do it. He'll probably have a big purse and everything. Um, but I think he's gonna pick Jake Paul apart, not because he's an amazing boxer, but because he's fast. He's got pinpoint accuracy, and I'm pretty sure he's probably tuned his hands up a bit since that Mayweather fight, and he's probably gonna train hard for Jake Paul. Um, now that being said, uh, I can't imagine getting knocked out by Jake Paul. And don't get me wrong, Jake Paul would probably knock me out in a boxing match. I think guys like Jake Paul though that want to call out MMA fighters to a boxing match are ridiculous. And there's no reason for a boxer to even try to fight an MMA fighter really, unless they're going to either agree to do 1-on-1, a boxing match and then an MMA match or whatever order, or that's really about it. I mean, there's no reason for a boxer to even try to fight an MMA fighter unless they've been talking smack about MMA. And in that case, guys like Floyd Mayweather need to shut their mouths and get in that cage and see what's up. Because again, it's the science and sport of punching and only worrying about punches. So you're only punching, you're only worrying about punches. There's standing 8 counts, which is unhealthy for the fighters, and it's an entirely different animal from having all your weapons available: grappling, punches, kicks, elbows, knees, submissions. um, you know, and that's what a lot of those guys like Floyd Mayweather want. Oh, MMA punchers don't know how to, or MMA fighters don't know how to punch or whatever. It ain't just about punching. It's a complete game. It's a sport of fighting. It's the closest thing to a street fight that you're going to get in combat sports. And, um, yeah, it's not that easy. There's a lot more strategy involved in an MMA fight than a boxing match. Which is to say there's not a strategy. Everybody's, boxing is like, everything else. There's a lot of different individual personal styles a lot of boxers have, and you have to strategize for how they fight. Just like a lot of the professional MMA fighters will watch fight footage of the guy they're going to fight so they can train for how they fight or how to counter how they fight or whatever. So I'm not saying there's no strategy to boxing. Just it's a different animal, and these boxers need to stop trying to call out MMA fighters unless they're going to go do an MMA match, because it's unfair for the MMA fighter to come in and only be allowed to punch, whereas while generally experience-wise, yeah, it's also unfair for a boxer to just jump into MMA. At least a boxer having a 6 to 8 month training camp could pick up kicking, some grappling defense, and stand somewhat of a chance in an MMA fight. But it's ridiculous. Jake Paul should not be calling out MMA fighters, especially not guys like McGregor. Like, dude, you ain't on that level. You haven't done nothing to deserve such experienced professional guys who've been doing fights, against actual fighters and things longer than you. But I think that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Don't forget to buy my merch. If you want to see me do more YouTube videos and do more Street Beefs fights, it actually would make it a lot easier if my merch was getting spread around and bought by a lot more people. So not just from my store, but also from Heart in the Fight store. A lot of different design options there. I just dropped some new merch in my store with my official logo over the weekend, and yeah. So, my channel isn't monetized yet. It's not monetizable yet. I still need more views. I've got the subscriber minimum. I'm above the subscriber minimum. Thank you to everybody who keeps subscribing. Um, but I'm still like only an eighth of the way, just a little over an eighth of the way to the hours viewed that I need in a 12-month period. So don't forget to watch the videos all the way through, spread them around, share my channel with your friends. Help this channel grow. Um, and once I get to that level where I'm making money off of this, I'll be able to do this more. I'll probably upload 2 to 3 videos a week at that point, instead of just one a week or two a week, or one a week and occasionally a bonus video like this one. But yeah, also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I should be making a Facebook soon for like just a fan page, Facebook. But yeah, Shinigami out. Have a good one.